Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We're in Judges chapter 14. We're going to be starting in verse 10 this lesson. But before we begin, our theme verse for Lunch with the Lord is Jeremiah 15 verse 16. Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, last lesson we saw Samson, and he goes with his father and mother, I guess, to make arrangements for the wedding. And he's heading towards this vineyard, and a lion meets him, and he kills the lion. And then later on, he takes honey from the lion's carcass and gives to his father and mother. And now we get ready for the wedding here. Let's read verses 10 through 14. And it says, So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you, if you can certainly declare it unto me within 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give to you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. But if you can't declare it to me, then you shall give 30 sheets and 30 change of garments to me. And they said unto him, Well, put forth your riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. Now, Samson and his father go to the wedding ceremony in Timnath. Now, again, is his mother there? We don't know. It doesn't say if she is or not. It was custom for the wedding to be at the groom's house, but it was decided to be at the bride's house. In verse 11, because Samson did not bring any friends to be a part of the ceremony, then the Philistines, they supplied 30 of their own men to take part. Either Samson didn't have enough close friends, or they all disagreed with this marriage. Samson now gives these 30 men that were given to him a riddle. It was a common thing to put forth riddles at parties and special occasions. But the riddle Samson gives has to do with the sin that he committed by taking and eating the honey from the carcass. Again, we see how Samson takes lightly disobedience to God's law. He is young and he's selfish, and he will do what he wants to do. Now, in verse 12, it says 30 sheets. Now, these were fine linen shirts that were worn next to the skin. Basically, they were pretty costly. They weren't just, regular old t-shirt or something they put on. When he says 30 sheets, he's talking about fine linen, something kind of expensive. And then it says 30 change of garments. Well, basically, these were both the upper and the lower outer clothing. So it would be the inner clothing and the outer clothing that is the what's up for wager here. Now, let's read verses 15 to 18. And it says, And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice your husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn you and your father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him and said, You do not thou dost but hate me, and loves me not. You have put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and you have not told me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it to my father or my mother, and shall I tell it to you? And she wept before him the 7 days, while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him, On the 7th day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle. Now, the 30 Philistines, they can't figure out this riddle for nothing. So they threaten Samson's wife to burn her and her father's house. Now, eventually, this is actually what they did in chapter 15 and verse 6. But her father was not included in this one. In the last part of verse 15, after they threaten her, they ask if they were called to be Samson's companion, only to be taken advantage of. They felt like they were being used. Well, this says here in the last part of says in verse 15, lest we burn you and your father's house with fire. And then they ask, have you called us to take that which we have? Did you want us to be part of this wedding just so you can take stuff from us? Is it not so? Isn't that true? So they feel like they're being used when in this wedding to get stuff from them. There is a danger in starting a new ministry, such as a Bible study or a nursing home ministry or a prison ministry or a ministry to the homeless or the youth group. The danger is when people want to help with the ministry and it's making them feel like they are being used. Leaders of a ministry should be thankful for anyone who wants to be a part of that outreach. The last thing people need is to feel like they are not appreciated and that they're there just to be used by the leader. Any ministry is not more important than the people who are involved in that ministry. If God has put it on people's hearts to help, then see each one as God's ambassador to that ministry with a special gift to be used in that ministry. His wife, out of fear for her life and for her father's house, she resorts to tears to manipulate Samson to tell her the riddle. But the question is, why didn't she just tell Samson the truth and let him take care of the situation himself? And the answer may be because maybe she at this time had no idea of Samson's ability. Now we do, but probably she didn't. If she did know, if she knew what we knew, she would probably have gone to him and said, look, I'm being threatened. They're going to burn me and my father's house down and me in it. And Samson would have done something. But she didn't know. Again, we know the whole picture, but at that time she didn't. Every woman has within the knowledge that tears will always, or almost always, reach a man's heart. She knew that they were going to burn her and the house down. And in chapter 15 and verse 6, it proves it. When they threatened her, she believed it. She was a Philistine. She knew how the Philistines thought. And she could see in their faces and in their words, she knew that it was going to happen. If she didn't somehow get the answer to that riddle, they were going to do. This wasn't just a blank threat. No, they were going to do it. And again, they did do it later on. I know a lot of commentators want to point to the fact that she was a Philistine, implying that she is already shady and untrustworthy. But they conveniently turn a blind eye to the fact that she was trying to save her own neck. We have the advantage of seeing the whole story ahead of time, but she didn't. Now, Samson is going to be manipulated by his wife and then betrayed. And this should be a lesson for him from God to help prepare him for when he meets Delilah and his very life is threatened. Oh yeah, he gets worked twice by women. This time, this should have been a warning from God to Samson. Don't give in to the tears, because the next time, if you do, it's going to mean your life. But when Delilah comes into his life and into his heart, the lesson that he should have learned with his wife is completely put to the side. And he becomes weak again he becomes weakened by Delilah's words. Again, Samson, he's strong physically, but he gives in weak to the women. In verse 18, the men reveal the riddle to Samson. But Samson, he could have disputed their win, because they got it underhandedly. Instead, though, Samson rebukes them for doing this and decides to fulfill the agreement. Now, Samson puts the blame on them and on his wife, but really, he's the one to blame. Samson himself is the one to blame for this, because he told his wife the answer, and he shouldn't have. Now, let's read verses 19 and 20. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, and he slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them, which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Now, God used Samson's loss of the riddle to be angry with them and to go against the Philistines. You know, it is better to be angry with the enemy than to be married with the enemy. God's Spirit comes upon Samson to do what he was supposed to do, and that is to fight the Philistines. Samson probably didn't even consummate the marriage because he was so angry. He was more angry with his wife than with anything else. Samson goes to Ashkelon which is about 20 to 25 miles southwest of Timnath. It's along the Mediterranean border. And he kills 30 men of the Philistines for their clothes. Why so far away? Why does he travel 20, 25 miles away? Well, maybe it's because he thought that it was far enough away that it would take time before anyone in Timnath found out what he did. Samson gives the shirts and the change of garments to the 30 men. And then he storms off home, and he's really ticked off. He's mad. So again, it's very possible that he did not consummate the marriage with his wife on the last day of the wedding, which is when they normally would consummate the marriage, on the last day. It seems that because the marriage had not been consummated, that his betrothed wife was now given by her father to a companion, which is basically, probably, it would be the best man of the ceremony. Now, concerning this whole situation with the wedding, Samson wanted to go his own way in life. God would have led him if he had asked, but Samson never asked God to lead him. But instead, God had to overrule Samson's desire of his and bringing it into an end. So God had to overrule Samson's desire to get married to this Gentile Philistine woman, regardless of how well her voice was and how pretty she was. God had to overrule this. This is what God does with his children when they start getting too close to the world in their hearts. We are too blind with desire for something in this world. And God has to bring about a separation that will give us a proper perspective of what this worldly thing is doing to our relationship with God. Samson had a Nazirite vow upon him. He was supposed to live a life separated unto God. But he's playing with the world. He wants to get married to the world. God has to do things, work in people's hearts to make him mad, disrupt this wedding, and make him mad in order to do what he's supposed to do, and that is to fight the Philistines in order for the children of Israel to get some relief from the oppression that they're under the Philistines. We're going to continue in chapter 15 next lesson, but until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.